How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Get Over an Alien Invasion by Osmiumpeach. Chapter 1. The Chase. My name is Christopher, and I am dead. This wasn't a possible scenario amongst the others. It was the one and only possible event in the near future, which was, according to the crude estimate I could do, 2 or 3 minutes away at most. And it was on a Sunday. Bad things were not supposed to happen on Sundays. They were supposed to happen on Monday. The worst thing is that I would never know how I would die. Well, actually, I knew how I would die, slashed into bits by some sort of blade. What I didn't know was what would kill me. It looked like some sort of fast-running green thing covered in blades. There was no way this thing came from this planet we call Earth. On a bright side, not only would I die knowing aliens existed, but I would die because of an alien. I don't mean dying is fun, but you've got to admit, being killed by an alien is a pretty badass way to die. Anyway, I'll tell you what was happening right now, as I guess it's the only reason you're still reading this. The other possible reason being that you are sadistic and want to read how I died. It all started when I received a job offer in another town, not really far from where I used to live. The salary was quite interesting, and most importantly, I was sure to love the job. Unfortunately, the town's tourism office never mentioned possibility of being chased by an alien species covered in razor-sharp blades when I called them before taking the job. What a bunch of liars. After a week or two in town, I decided to take a small walk in the forest near the town, hoping to spot some cool birds in it and to catch a few fish in the lake, which, supposedly, was a very nice fishing spot. As I thought it would be a nice way to enjoy the remaining days I had before my first day of the job, I had decided to make a little trip in this forest. The walk in itself didn't take long. Not that it was a small forest, not at all. It's just that it didn't take long to be spotted by these aliens. After that, the walk was over, and replaced by the run of my life. Literally. My hopeless attempt to escape a certain death was made even harder by the terrain I had to run in. A forest. It might not seem much, but I had to jump over fallen logs, avoid trees, duck under low branches I hadn't noticed before, and, worst of all, run away from an alien who seemed to be born for running in a forest. You know what? The alien I keep talking about will, from now on, be designed as a Gillette, after the razor company. Hey, just because I'm minutes away from a gruesome death doesn't mean I can't have a strange and bad taste sense of humour. I managed to trip on a root and fall in the most ridiculous way imaginable. Great. Not only I lost a great part of my already small advance, but I also realised how weak my legs had become during the death race. The only thing allowing me to even make a step was the level of adrenaline in my blood, which was probably high enough to make EpiPen jealous of my body. After stepping up as fast as I could, I started to run again. In a desperate move, I started to call for help. Yeah, right. Like if anyone could help me, or if anyone would actually try to help me. A razor blade covered alien can be scary sometimes. Despite that, I still called for as long as my lungs allowed me. That didn't stop me from staying ahead. That is, until I made the stupid mistake of looking back to see how much time I had, 30 seconds or so at the most, and tripped for the second time. Damn it. If this were a movie, I'd have considered this fall as the victim trip on the ground as he ran away from danger cliché. If it was just for me, I'd have stayed down and used the last few seconds of my life to make peace with myself. But my self-preservation instinct was too strong. I stepped up again and ran again. At this point, I couldn't think. All my actions were just reflexes and automatisms. It was like if my body was an airplane and my brain activated the autopilot and went for a hot coffee. Even if my perception of time was heavily distorted by the fact that I was about to die from a Gillette attack, I knew I was about 10 seconds from a certain death. That is, assuming the Gillette thought that I was lost and I was very motivated to help me find my way was not the explanation for this. A hawk I hadn't noticed before attacked the Gillette. Well, to be accurate, I think it was a hawk. I was so tired and breathless that I could confuse a dog with a small-sized deer. Frankly, I didn't care about what species it was, as long as it allowed me to gain some terrain, especially since I was starting to suffer from hallucinations. I couldn't know if it was the lack of oxygen in my blood, the stress, or the fact that I was about to die because of an alien, but I started to hear the hawk talking to me. It gave me directions on where I had to go to survive. I knew the hawk wasn't talking to me. It was obviously my subconscious, or whatever psychology concept explains it, saying ideas I hadn't thought of, probably by using some fragment of memory I had about this place. I decided to follow his directions. I was dead anyway, so I may as well take the small chance that my bad psychology hypothesis was true. It worked. I somehow managed to outrun the Gillette and find a safe place to hide. The hawk, the hallucination, then explained to me that I'd keep my mouth shut and never talk about this to anyone if I wanted to stay alive, or keep my free will. I saw a cave I could use as a temporary hiding place and walked clumsily into it. Once inside, I felt very sick. Sick to the point I vomited on the ground a few seconds after I managed to get out. Which was fortunate, since I didn't want to have the smell of whatever stuff I vomited in the hiding place. Never in my whole life I had been so breathless. I didn't even know it was possible to be breathless like I was and still being alive. I was sure that, even by breathing pure oxygen, I wouldn't be able to talk. I sat down on a small patch of grass that looked more comfortable than the rest of the cave, and waited for a time that felt extremely short and extremely long, all at the same time. It was night when I finally decided to go out. I wanted to be sure that no space razors were anywhere around here. I walked to my small apartment I rented. Fortunately, it was on the first floor, and I went straight to bed. I fell asleep the very second I touched the bed. This was Chapter 1 of How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Get Over an Alien Invasion by Osmiumpeach. Links to the rest of the story are in the description. Thank you for listening.